Hello, everybody. It's the Wrestling with the Willies podcast, and mind you, shit has happened over the past few months, like all the pay-per-views and everything out around the time. Like everything's been kind of hectic. So, mostly why Backlash came out first before Night 2, because we're talking about WrestleMania Night 2 now. It's mostly because Liam, we had to work around to be able to have Liam on it. So, now he's back on it for Night 2. So,
yeah,
so that's why it's like a space between Night 1
we're
and
gonna
Night
have
2.
what do you call it? I don't know what.
Others.
Well, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the just remembering these matches because there's been 4 other pay-per-views since the.
But
we just have to have.
This is the only one that I don't remember.
Well, the people on the podcast don't know what you're talking about, so we'll just get to that point. But for anyone that doesn't know, Liam's my son, so he's the one that has been unavailable with school and all that types of stuff to do this one.
School, hitting my head, getting sick, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it got delayed a bit. So, but in overall, our podcasts have been delayed. But we're going to go ahead and get this one pushed out to you, and hope you guys enjoy what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, it's mostly because it's kind of funny. We were talking about during Night 1 how it's like they did everything right on Night 1, and then on Night 2, everything was everything. Most of the matches were I either didn't give a crap about, or the wrong person won, or
I remember we talked about it, and this was before we even watched WrestleMania. We talked about it on previous podcasts, but we seemed like Night 1 or Night 2 was stacked, and Night 1 was kind of but then overall the action for both nights, it turned out to be the exact opposite. So we'll talk about that tonight.
And pretty much it's Brock and Omos, and this is my least favorite match that I was other than the four-way tag matches, mostly because they didn't really help anybody, honestly. I don't even see why they even had them in the first place.
I think it was filler because they had to come up with 20 matches or whatever, or 15 matches or whatever it was. But
they had to do 3 hours each night,
and to get people on the card that they wanted on the card somehow. But the first match, the one we're talking about now, Brock Lesnar and Omos, this was the standard Brock Lesnar match, and I don't know why. This was that first tell of Vince being involved again, because Omos was put on the card out of nowhere. It was I think at the time he wasn't even on Raw or anything. And then all of a sudden it was announced he was challenging Brock at WrestleMania it's what? Okay, this is where you could tell Vince is involved, because the minute he wasn't, Omos fell off the card, and the minute he came back, he was put right back in.
Especially knowing that I think Brock versus Bobby Lashley was supposed to be on Night 2. And then, they were also, there's a lot of choices between who Brock was going to face. A lot of choices. I think at one point they were thinking about having Bray go against them. And I was like, dude, if Bray would go against them, he would have to win, because otherwise there would be no point in the match, because he's already lost to him before. So, and of course, as soon as I saw this one, I was like, dude, if they put Omos over, I swear, he sucks to me. I've never, and it feels like the only reason why they're saying about Omos being in Hurt Business is because the shit with MVP, and knowing that he's black too.
I have no idea.
Okay, if you're doing Hurt Business, okay, it's one thing for... It's having Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley and all them. But, essentially the Hurt Business was about beating people up.
So what I
thought. And then it's just it's just put.
So what do you
Omos
think? What did you think about this one?
Do that.
So this match was so bad that I actually almost fell asleep during it, because I just didn't like it very much. It basically was a squash match that I hated with Brock Lesnar. because that's the reason I hate Brock Lesnar, because every match he has is a squash match, unless it's like versus like a big star or something that's going to completely destroy him.
But even then, they're only 5 minutes long because we talk about Brock's cardio level. Because he's red within a minute of his matches starting. But anyways, what were you going to say, Josh?
Well, it's mostly like I was just not interested in the match. I knew that Brock was going to go over, and then essentially they were like, "Oh, gotta make Omos look strong." Why? Because he sucks. I just don't like. To me, I've never cared for Omos or Omos, whatever. I don't know why they call him Omos if it's both
I don't get it. It's just their way of pronouncing it.
But whatever. It's like, oh, okay. And then the Nigerian what
giant.
do they call him? Nigerian giant or some shit. And then it's like, oh, okay, so we can't call him the Giant because Andre the Giant. So let's name him the Nigerian Giant. It's like they've already went through like 3 or 4 different names with him already. So yeah, I was just like ready to be over that match. Get to like one of the better matches on the card.
To me, there was only 1 or 2, honestly.
Yeah, like I mean, honestly, the 4-way tag match was better than I expected, but also at the same time, when you don't get anything out of it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what we were saying.
Like even if they could have just explained, oh, you get a future tag team match. That's all they need to say to explain why these 4 teams are going against each other, but then yet they didn't. So they could have been like, it's an invitational match, showing the best of whatever. Didn't do that either, so I just felt like
there wasn't anything special to the match. That was the thing about this night so far, or even most of it. There wasn't any special surprises. There wasn't anything. Now, there is one thing we'll talk about later that I thought was actually hilarious, but other than that, there wasn't any like special stuff that happened on night 1 or 2, really, at WrestleMania, which kind of surprised me. There was one I was thinking was going to happen, but it didn't materialize. We'll talk about it later. It just didn't. I thought was going to happen, and it didn't. But none of these matches. This one, there wasn't anything memorable in them. At least from my standpoint, I can't remember. And knowing how much I can remember, I don't remember a lot from like most of the matches on this night.
Well, it's mostly because the fatal 4-way match. It's like nobody really got hurt, nobody really botched anything, but it was like really Ronda was out of the match for like a good long while. Then they did a roll up. Yeah, she got a roll-up win or something, and then
it was weird. It was a weird ending.
So that was weird because it just came out of freaking nowhere, and then I was just like, okay, so it just seemed like they were like, oh, you got 10 minutes, or like close to 10 minutes. Do whatever you can in it.
But I'm gonna go back to Omos match when we were talking about Omos. I think he has no wrestling skill at all. He just punches and picks up him and then slams him to the ground. That's all he does.
Okay, but what are you going to say about the new one, though?
I don't know.
This one?
The tag team match that we're talking about. Do you have something to say on that one?
Yeah. So
I don't mean to cut you off in terms of talking about Omos, but I think we've talked about him enough. Yeah. No offense, but as many times as we've talked about that dude on this podcast, I don't know if I need to give him any more minutes.
Basically, it was what Josh said. Where it was like boring, but it was better than the Omos match. But I hated the finish of it. It was a very bad finish. At least nobody got hurt or anything, though. So.
Yep. So, blah, and that's pretty much kind of like how the whole card went. Like, really. Because, I mean, granted, the match of the night for me was Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew, though. And that's not by saying much.
I mean, that's what I was saying. That's been like the match of the night for a while.
That wasn't the match.
Anything Sheamus and Gunther have been involved
Gunther in.
I don't.
Like,
that's not my
just
That's not my match of the card. Mine's later. Like,
well, we can talk about that when we get to it. But Josh's match of the night was Gunther defeating Sheamus and Drew.
Yeah, it's mostly because I like Gunther, and then I hope that he beats Honky Tonk Man's record. I think if anybody should be him. Because, I mean,
I would have to agree that was probably my match of the night, which is saying something because this wasn't even their best match. Like the one that Gunther and Sheamus has been involved in, I'm saying.
Yeah, like their solo stuff has been good. Like the triple threat match was like okay-ish. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say that it was great, but like it was good for what it was. But like, I like their other match, like Sheamus and Gunther's from what was it? The one.
Well, there was also the one from SmackDown that we actually saw live. Me and it was the pay-per-view after that SmackDown, but I can't remember which one it was. But me and Liam went to SmackDown, and the match they basically almost had the same exact match at the SmackDown. It was Sheamus, Gunther, and who was it? Wasn't it the Brawling Brutes versus? Yeah.
Oh, Imperium.
I'm almost positive it was because Ridge Holland was part of it. I think
so, yeah.
But
yeah, it was because I remember that. I remember one of the. I remember trying to high five Gunther at the thing, and he would just walk past like this.
Yeah, I remember when I saw a Gender live one time.
But yeah, if you watch that SmackDown, Drew McIntyre high fives Liam, and Liam jumps up and down during that. I still remember the time we went to Raw and Dad got into it with Edge years ago. I don't know if you remember that. That was funny. Yeah, him and Edge, we were right by the on-ramp or the ramp for one of the Raws, I think, and Edge walked to the side of the ramp to the backstage, and Dad said something to him, and Edge got up in his face. It was hilarious, and you can actually catch it from far off on camera. We were standing right there. It was funny. But anyways, again, there wasn't anything. The funny thing is, it was match of the night, but can I remember anything memorable? No.
Well,
no, most of it was like I think at one point Drew did the bows of the ballroom or whatever it's called, the beats of the ballroom or whatever. Sheamus's move where he hits him with the chest bumps or whatever.
Yeah, what were you going to say, Liam?
So I was going to say that. Well, I'm pretty sure there was a table involved, but I don't remember.
A table involved? Is that what you said? You need to talk a little bit louder.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there was a table involved, but I don't remember very well.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Most of these matches, like, especially now, because I could only refresh my memory, but also at the same time, I remember most of what happened during the matches. So I was like, is it worth it to rewatch it again just for
not
the
only
podcast?
that, it wasn't memorable. This was a night, if you guys recall, we talked about it during night one. Me and Liam actually went to WrestleMania, so we watched this live. And night two sucked. Mm-hmm. I mean, in terms of just sitting there and watching the whole thing. I mean, it was going into it, me and him both did not think, right, Liam, that we thought it would be the exact opposite. Like night one would suck and night two would be the better night. And it was the exact opposite.
So, for night two, for night two, I basically, so you could tell that most of the crowd thought that night one was way better, like the people that got both tickets, because it was way quieter. It was way quieter in the stadium than you're there. Like the first night, it was like really loud, and then the second night, it was like just like mediocre loud.
Well, I think the problem was like even talking about Bianca and Asuka. I thought that they were going to have Asuka win because the way that they changed her character, she's doing more of her New Japan version of her character.
That would have made more sense, but then they waited, 2 months? I mean, we'll talk about that in our later podcast.
We'll talk about that more.
But that's the unfortunate part about doing these podcasts a little late is there's been a lot that's happened since we actually talked about this one. Yeah,
it was mostly so many that were hitting around the same time. It was like we just got done watching one, and then it was like another one's coming the next week. It was like back to back to back to back, and we're like, oh well. Holy crap. So then it kind of lost us for a little bit. But, like, that's the main thing for this one was that I thought, like, the problem was is that I was hoping too much with
the biggest thing matches. I keep talking about this with, I don't mean to cut you off, Josh, but I keep talking about this with WWE. It's like, and you'll see this as a continuing theme when we talk about Money in the Bank. And that's the only one we've got left, right? For WWE, is that?
Well, no.
Oh, that's right. Shoot, we got another 4 pay-per-views that we need to talk about, but 2 of them being WWE.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're behind.
But their pay-per-views will go for 3 hours. But if you look at these matches, like the first match that we talked about tonight, went 4 minutes and 55 seconds. The second match went 8 minutes and 25 seconds. So Gunther went 16 minutes and 40 seconds, and now we're talking about Bianca Belair, and it went 16 minutes and 5 seconds, right? So you're talking about this is a 3-hour pay-per-view when we've now talked about 4 matches in the total of, and they total up to
40 minutes,
about 50 minutes worth of wrestling time, and there's only really 2 matches left. We're going to talk about 3 segments. But there's only 2 real matches left, and you're only talking, we still got 2 hours left in total time. So how much time they're filling these with freaking WWE advertisements is unreal.
Yeah, and like
yeah, but that's what I'm talking about. You guys, for the non-premium Peacock purchasers like Josh, he gets additional ads on top of the WWE ones. I'm talking about even the ones that because I'd pay for the ad-free version of Peacock. It's like $5 extra a month. And I still have to deal with these WWE ones, but the time on those, it still puts the pay-per-view up at 3 hours when you're only talking about an hour and a half of actual wrestling time. And so...
Well, that's what kills me most of the time. It's like, shit, we got like an hour and a half left, and it's like, no, it's because
an hour of freaking ads to watch through.
So minutes of commercials. But I mean, I talked about this back when they had WWE Network that they were still pacing it like they had commercials, and you don't need to have commercials. You just go from one to. That's one thing that's good about AEW.
Yeah, when we talk about those pay-per-views, it's a big difference. Like, their 3-hour pay-per-views are 3 hours of matches almost.
Which we talked about it a lot, but like they fill out as much time as they can to the wrestling. I think that's the difference between them and freaking WWE.
And that's why you can't really talk about too much wrestling on these podcasts when it comes to the WWE premium live events because they don't do a lot of it. I mean, so like when we get down to the Roman match, that went the longest, but if you look in terms of the way Roman matches go is there's a lot of standing around, and we'll talk about that during Money in the Bank and the other ones too that he actually wrestles at. But I mean, it's a lot of his matches, there's a lot of moving around real slow in the ring. So it's like his match may go 35 minutes, but there's only really 10 minutes of actual wrestling. And it's near the end of the match when it gets ready to finish. So you kind of know the way the match is going to go based on how it is going. So,
yep.
But yeah, Bianca Belair, I thought the same thing. Me and Liam really wanted Asuka to win. We were... And the whole crowd did. That was the one thing we noticed. Like when the pin would not go for Asuka, they kind of weren't happy about it. So it's not only what, it's not only what you were thinking. It's just like night one with Rhea Ripley. You could tell the crowd wanted Ripley to win that match, not Charlotte. And so it's like, but they didn't do it because they didn't. And again, WWE is real hard in their, they've got a path that they want to push towards. So they're, regardless of what the crowd really wants, they've only done it a few times where I think they've changed their mind based on the way the crowd reacts. And Daniel Bryan was one of them.
And most of the time, that's very it's like, and they were kind of forced into that
because Batista, too. I know going all the way into that night, Batista was supposed to win, and they changed it. Like I think that night.
What night?
The night Daniel Bryan beat Batista. It was that triple. He did the 3 matches or 2 matches. I don't remember what year it was, but
it was 24 when he won both titles.
No, it was not WrestleMania 29. It was WrestleMania 30.
WrestleMania 30. Whatever it was. Whatever year that was, the path forward was not the path that they did, and that's one of the only times I've ever seen them change paths. So they always had in the mindset that Asuka wasn't going to win that match, and they weren't going to change it. So it was like, even though the crowd didn't want Bianca to continue winning, and I think her. The thing is she's in that. I think she's kind of in that John Cena realm. Is that she's got a lot of young girl fans, and they don't want to flip her heel, but at the same time, I think she needs a heel turn, and I think they're moving towards that now. But I think that's part of this was the start of when the crowd is wanting them to do that.
I don't even think Cena was ever a heel.
He never was. Well, at the very beginning, I think. At the very beginning with the Thugonomics stuff.
It was when he was doing the Thugonomics stuff. He was coming out and doing the Acclaim shit. He was doing what Acclaim did, where he would have the Thugonomics song come on, then he would rap and insult whoever was in the ring constantly. And then eventually it just got so over that it just they had to turn him face, and then they didn't return him back heel.
But I mean, in terms of again, this was another match. It wasn't anything memorable. What I remember is the crowd not being happy that Asuka wasn't winning, and especially when Asuka lost, the crowd wasn't happy. And the crowd, obviously, when we get to the end of this night, was very unhappy with what happened then. But the next one was what? The Miz segment?
This
was the funniest part.
Can I explain it?
The whole...
All right. So basically, the Miz is supposed to have a match with Shane McMahon, right? Wait, is that the...
Well, you could have premised it with Shane McMahon returned.
Shane McMahon returned to fight the Miz. He broke his ankles or something. I don't know.
I think he tore his knee.
He tore his knee on the way to the ring.
He tore his
knee on the way to the ring. So he didn't fight. And then Snoop Dogg improvised and then started punching Miz or something. I don't remember it exactly, but I remember somebody else coming on and then start punching him too.
So essentially what happened was that Shane was supposed... they did it on night one, where, we talked about it on night one, where essentially Miz... where I guess it was supposed to be Theory at one point, right? That was supposed to be the host, or it was somebody else. I can't remember who it was. That was supposed to be the host. Then it turned into Miz and the Snoop Dogg. I
don't remember Snoop ever being involved. I remember Miz being announced, and then all of a sudden,
I think
we showed up at WrestleMania, and Snoop was there. But then it was each night, the Miz was pulled into a match, an impromptu match with somebody. Night one was Pat McAfee, if I remember right. It's been so long. Yeah, and it's okay, whatever. I don't know. I don't get the fascination with Pat McAfee. I really don't. The dude got signed to a deal with ESPN for his fucking show for millions of dollars. I don't get it. I've listened to his podcast. I know there's a lot of people out there that like listening to him, but I don't get the fascination with it. It's the same thing with Logan Paul. I've listened to his too, and I don't get the fascination with Impulsive and all this other shit. But
I've always found Logan Paul to be a douchebag. So
it's we do these podcasts and we don't have many people listening, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna cheat myself out to get stuff either. But Anyhow, but yeah, on night 2, like Liam said, the surprise, and this was really the only surprise that I remember on both nights, really. I mean, Pat McAfee can be really kind of considered one, but this was also another, Vince had to be involved because I don't know who else would have had Shane return.
No,
yeah, because you could have had anybody.
No, it's his son.
Up.
He doesn't hate his son.
He could have had anybody show up.
He had to make a move because of that whole back when Shane McMahon got let go because he was controlling too much of Royal Rumble that year. Like, he was putting himself in good spots, and it didn't look good to anyone backstage. So he was kind of put on the show for a while.
Yeah.
And he's old anyways. There's no reason he should be in a high up spot.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be wrestling.
Well, and this just proved it. I think the dude's done. He's 50 some odd years old. He doesn't need to be doing that type of shit anymore.
Yeah, because this was so funny that they were trying to do, like, I think he, what was it? He jumped over the Miz or something?
Well, first he
went to go
first he did, first he did his normal, his punching stuff. Well, then he went up against the ropes and started to do his, the running the rope thing. And when he hit the rope, his knee gave out. And it was like, and then he laid there. And Jessica Carr, I think her name is, the ref, kind of had to improvise. So she's telling Snoop that he had to, like, do something because Shane couldn't get up. Like, Shane literally could not get up off his feet.
Yeah.
It was very reminiscent of Vince tearing his quads.
Of Vince.
And the crazy part is Vince tore both of them.
Vince ran into the ring and tore both quads.
He ran into the ring, tore one quad, then tried to get up and tore his other one. So then he's just sitting on his butt in the ring and couldn't do anything, couldn't move.
Yelling at people.
Now, have you ever heard about the Diesel tearing his quad or something?
Well, no, the only one that tore his quad, I think, was Triple H. But Triple H, I think, wrestled with his.
Triple H did it twice.
Kevin Nash has had more problems.
Well, Kevin Nash has had more. Nash
his knee gave out when he was tagging someone, and when he was trying to get back, his knee gave out and went like this.
Yeah.
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Psycho Sid jumped off the top or like the middle rope one time, and his
they told him to. That's the crazy thing. They told him to do a top rope move, and he's like, I don't know. I don't think that's a smart idea. And then they're like, go ahead and do it. And then he lands on his fucking ankle.
That's one of the worst I've seen because you see the whole thing live. It's like they couldn't pan away from that.
Because you see it flopping.
And, besides football injuries, when you see guys do that same thing on the football field. But regardless, it was, I don't mean to say it's funny, but it is funny because he returned to make a big pop and hurt himself.
And then hurt himself instantly. And then Snoop Dogg had to do his version of the people's elbow. Because, he was probably like, I didn't expect to have to do this shit.
But he did a good job considering what he had to. He did a good job considering what he had to deal with, though, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that was the funny part out of it. But it kind of showed, how the whole night 2 went. Was that if that happens on night 2, that means
and that's what I was getting at. But then the next match, when Edge fought Finn Balor as the Demon,
which this is the by far this was the dumbest idea that they did.
The first thing I wanted to say was this is where I thought there would be a surprise appearance. I thought Gangrel would show up because I knew they were setting up a Brood type entrance, and they did at the beginning when he came up through the thing with the fire. But Gangrel was in Hollywood. I know he was because he was at WrestleCon. So I was really thinking he was going to show up, and he didn't. So this was where I thought what I was talking about earlier with the surprise. This is where I thought there was going to be one. I didn't think there was going to be anyone any other time. What?
Well, I'll talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
Because
And then him coming out as Slayer to Slayer too was like pretty dope, especially with that mask.
His
that
entrance
mask
was the best
dope.
entrance of the night. It didn't get the biggest pop, but it was the best entrance. Because again, Finn Balor's was like, his normal demon one.
What?
Yeah, just mixed with the Judgment Day shit. Like, really, it's a new like.
And this match went 18 minutes and 10 seconds, but it was like Edge has the same type of matches too. Like when you watch Edge's matches, they go kind of the same way. Like if you watch an Edge match, you've seen them all, and that's what I'm noticing lately. Especially, I don't know if it's his latest run, but they've all pretty much been the same type of. You go through these certain.
Well, he might be doing that on purpose to try to play it safe.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that they're all kind of the same stuff happens and almost in the same order in every match that he's had.
Well, I have a question for Josh. Why did you think it was the stupidest idea of all of the matches?
It's because I think that the main person that needed the win was Finn Balor, and they didn't give it to him. I don't think Edge needed a win on this.
Well, especially he defeated.
Was it,
isn't the demon? Well, the demon had never lost, right?
Well, other than with Roman, I think Roman was the only person.
But yeah,
that beat
so
him
I mean, how good does that make the demon look? I think that's where because it used to be like his unstoppable version. Well, now it's not really. If anybody can beat him, see, like. You can kind of get the premise that Roman is because Roman's the top guy, right? But if somebody else beats it now, then it makes it kind of open to everybody. It's almost like the super kick. Now everybody uses it. So it's not a special appearance much anymore for the demon to show up because the premise would be if the demon shows up, Finn's going to win. Mm-hmm. Same kind of thing as with Bray Wyatt and The Fiend, I think, which I think they're going to go back to using him. That's the rumor I'm hearing. If Bray Wyatt does indeed make a return at some point, that the Fiend's going to be part of his gimmick again. No, they were.
Well, I mean, they're saying that he has an illness right now, but like, honestly, I don't think it's an illness. I think he has it. Well, I think that they have. I don't think that Vince likes him all that much or is high on him. But
if it is, that's stupid. Again, this goes back to he's an idiot because if I was AEW at this point, if they got rid of him, I'd pick Bray Wyatt up in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I'd pick him up.
And I'd let him do whatever the fuck he wanted. And no offense, but I mean, the stuff that he's come up with has been better than a lot of WWE writers have been able to write. But yeah, the Edge match, the worst problem about this match, I know watching it live, as I remember, it's very hard to see a Hell in a Cell match live.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing, unless you're really close,
because you can't
like especially a WrestleMania match where we were sitting, you see basically the cage.
Yeah.
You don't really see the people.
Good thing that they're the screen.
So you got to hope for the screen actually working. That was the biggest part of I think in night one especially, the screen wasn't working up where we were at, or was it? Yeah, so we didn't see a lot. We had to
It was during the theory match.
We had to rely on watching it from the nosebleeds. It was
during whatever the theory match was. I don't remember.
Night two, we didn't have to, but you basically with the Hell in the Cell match, you basically have to, and then it's basically like watching it at home. Like, Josh, you probably got a better vision of the Hell in the Cell match than we did. So that's the biggest problem.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
No, and that's the biggest problem.
I mean, I didn't even notice that. Finn Balor cut his head at one point, because I didn't even tell that it.
But that's the biggest issue I have with watching it live with Hell in the Cell matches. You can't see them. You can only see them as good as you can without the frickin' cell in them.
Probably if you're seeing them up in the front row, probably you could see it better. But yeah, if you're watching it from the nosebleeds, you probably won't be able to fucking see shit. Because I remember when we were at, WrestleMania 33, I think, when Bray and Randy Orton were doing their shit, and you could barely even see what was on the ring. Like they were putting roaches and shit on the ring, but you could barely see
and in that arena
on there. And that was, mind you, before.
Yeah, not only that, the arena that we watched that one was in Orlando, and the screens were way far away from you. So it's not like in SoFi. SoFi has that wraparound screen that that's right in front of you. Like it's actually perfect for events like this. Like I can envision that there's going to be a lot of WrestleManias going forward in this arena because of the way, or in this stadium because of the way it's built and the way people can see it. Like if that camera is working and the screen is working right, everybody can see from everywhere what's going on in the ring, and you're there to actually see the live entrances and stuff like that.
But nosebleeds at the bottom.
What?
Like, all right, so there's like the high place where we were at. So there's like we were at the top. The floor also, like the floor part also has nosebleeds, and there you.
No, they don't have nosebleeds. They're on the floor. Nosebleeds are considered high, like where we were sitting. Yeah, they're called the cheap seats, even though they're not really cheap for WrestleMania. I think we paid
$300.
Yeah, well, it was cheaper than if we paid right by the floor. I think me and Josh, the first time we went to WrestleMania, we were only like 20 rows back. And Josh didn't know how we got those tickets. Yeah. I worked it out. But
how much money did you spend?
Not a lot, because I got them off of like eBay or something like that at the time. Somebody was trying to get rid of them, so I bid a low price and they accepted it. So it was like StubHub or something like that. Anyways, it was on the floor, I remember, and Josh was like, we're this close. But floor seats aren't very good close either, because people stand up, and then you have to stand up the whole time, and then you can't see anything anyway.
I mean, that's the main problem when it comes to any of that shit, though. Like any concert, any stadium events, you have to deal with trying to see around other people, especially tall as hell people. It's kind of hard to end up doing. So, I mean, like, that's why, like, one of my pet peeves is I hate when short people fucking bitch about being in front of tall people. It's like, bitch, move then. Like, it just kills me. Or get on the shoulders of your boyfriend or whoever. That way you can see.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know why people have to stand the entire time when you have seats.
Well, I mean, when you're in general admission, you could only
but if there's no, I get it if there's standing room only, like you're only able to stand, but then you move wherever you want to, like if there's a pit or something for a concert. But if there's seats, I don't know why people stand up. It's not like the people can see you. It's like it's a waste of time. It's not like you're gonna get recognized by them or something.
Oh yeah. Oh. Especially from where we were, it was like I was kind of I was standing on my seat at one point just to see if like I would be in camera view, because we were off where the main camera were filming. So like I was trying to see if like it would take pictures of me just standing, like just my face. Never did though. Mostly because we were probably too off center or whatever. But
like that's the only time. That's the only time I've ever. That's the only time I've ever stood for anything, is where I have to stand up because other people are. Otherwise, I wouldn't stand up at all. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like, anyways. But that's just me. I understand people want to stand up, but
you stood up by yourself at SmackDown
because other people were standing up though around us. I don't just.
Yeah, because you need to be able to actually see the shit.
I'm not
going to pay the money to go see a show and you can't see it because some
I mean, so that's what I'm saying. That's the only time I stand up, is when somebody else in front of me is. And then I have Liam do it because obviously he can't see in front of, because he's shorter than anyone else.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody, but mostly.
That's why I could go into like all sorts of shit where it's like concert or stadium shit, do's and don'ts and all that shit, where it's me bitching about other people.
We're getting off track again, but we only have one match to talk about, which was the longest match of the night and again the worst.
My least favorite one, just because I'm so tired of Raw.
Well, again, they go the same way. Like this one was 34 minutes long, right? But in all Roman matches, especially now with his Final Boss Roman theme song, he takes 25 minutes to get to the ring, right? So you could factor that time into the 3 hours we were talking about. And then, it's longer than Undertaker's. And then, not only that, when he's in the match at the very beginning, it probably takes it about 15 minutes to actually start doing anything.
Yeah, because every single match, they're like, some wrestlers are like, oh yeah, that's a good ring psychology. No, it's fucking boring, dude. I understand if you're trying to.
You guys will hear it when we talk about Money in the Bank, because WrestleMania was nowhere near as bad in this aspect as Money in the Bank was. But we'll talk about that in that paper, in that podcast. But again, this was one where, oh shit, Paul Heyman and Solo Sikoa were with him, so this is their out and how Cody's going to lose. And this is exactly what happened, was at the end, Solo Sikoa freaking hit Cody when the ref wasn't looking, and that's how Roman won. The crowd hated this shit. It was probably one of the worst reactions I've seen in terms of, like...
No, just in WrestleMania.
Yeah, because everybody wanted him to beat him. The worst reaction
in WrestleMania, like, ever. It's one of the worst.
Well, it hasn't been the worst, but it was. It was the worst that we listened to that in the 2 nights, though. That's what I can tell you is that.
Reaction?
Huh? No, the best was the pop that freaking Seth Rollins got in night one. I was shocked at how loud the crowd was, because I remember.
No, Sami.
And Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins, the pop they got in night one was the loudest I've ever heard. Sami especially, because I couldn't hear the guy next to me. That's how loud it.
I couldn't hear you talking.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But for Seth during his entrance, the crowd was loud as hell singing his song. And then the pop Sami got was loud. When he won and when he came out, but it was very loud when they won. But that was where that was the right decision, and this was the wrong one. And the crowd let WWE know too. But this match again was the standard Roman match. Cody did all his shit. And this is where you make a guy look weak, though. Cody did I don't know how many crossroads on Roman. He did everything he could and still lost, because Solo Sikoa did what he did. And then they turned around after this with Cody and put him in a damn thing with Brock, which is just with Brock. It's like, what? Yeah. It's like, they've continued that.
Yeah, and then I was hearing,
we're talking 3 other pods.
Like, oh, we got to finish the story. I'm like, I got to wait another year.
Well, not only that, guys. So for anybody listening to this podcast... Right, we're talking about WrestleMania Night 2 right now, but if you guys listened to Backlash, and then we've got Night of Champions, Money in the Bank still to talk about, and even after Money in the Bank, Cody and Brock are still feuding. So you're talking about four premium live events, and we're still talking about Cody and Brock. So it's like, so you'll listen to these and you'll hear a recurring theme, even though there's a guy in between all those. Like Cody and Brock did not face each other at one of those live events, but they're still being talked about. So they went away from it and they're going back to it. So it's like, okay. So this is the joys of having Vince involved in creative again. Is that we have the same storylines going for a whole year and a half. But anyways,
yep, and it's the same people. Yeah, like Roman.
The only storyline that makes any sense that they really need to capitalize on is this bloodline stuff, and we'll talk about it more later, because obviously we've got to talk about stuff that happened during those podcasts. But the bloodline stuff is the only thing WWE is doing right now.
No, the only 2 people that I think is even... Okay, so basically, while we're talking about the Roman stuff, the only 2 people that will probably take the title from him are Sami and Cody. only two people that probably even have a chance.
Well, Jay's the only other one.
Jay
Uso is at this point, and we're not going to talk about it much on this podcast, okay? Because we've got two other ones to talk about. But based on what happened after Money in the Bank, the one that makes the most sense at this point, the way they're going with everything, is Jay Uso. But
you need to tell me that after.
But I think it's going to happen?
Think it will?
No, it's not.
I think it actually will.
Well, we thought that with Cody. I thought Cody was going to win that night.
Yeah.
Because weren't they talking about like Cody changing it back to the old title?
Well, that's what he had talked about that before WrestleMania. But if they do that, it's not going to be for another year, though. Roman will have the title until WrestleMania 40. If that's what their true plan is, because they're not going to draw. Cody's not going to take that title on a measly pay-per-view. He's not. It's going to be at WrestleMania if he takes it.
Who?
Cody. It isn't going to be on like freaking Hell in a Cell or even SummerSlam. It's going to be on one of the major ones, but I don't see. It's not going to happen at SummerSlam because. Well, we'll talk about that later. You won't be on that podcast, but it won't be at SummerSlam. I'm just telling you that.
Wait, does SummerSlam already happen?
No, it's happening. That's the next one. That's why I said we got to talk about these other two, and then the next one we'll be talking about for WWE is SummerSlam.
Okay.
Which happens, I think, in August. But anyways, enough about that. There wasn't anything special to me about this match. It was the standard Roman ones where Solo interfered. Cody lost. End of story. And this match went double the amount of any other match on the card. And there wasn't anything special. And do you remember anything special about the match? I know you didn't like it. I know you didn't like that Cody lost, but did you have anything else, Liam?
Sorry. The one special thing, so I was gonna say something about what Dad thought about the surprise. Dad, for some reason, thought The Rock was going to show up during this match.
Well, they've been talking about The Rock and Roman facing each other, so that was another. But I really didn't think that was going to happen during the match.
So the really turning point. Wait, I need to ask this. I can't say it's a thing because I don't know if it's correct.
Just say it and we'll correct you. I don't know.
Did Jay and Jimmy come out?
During this match, no.
Okay, then I'm talking about the long match. I was talking about the Elimination Chamber one then with Sammy.
Oh, what does?
Yeah, you're talking about. They faced each other the night before. They didn't come out during this one because Solo Sikoa was out there with them. I don't think they came out, did they?
Yeah. I would not want to see Roman with the title belt for another year, especially with this part-time.
Well, this just will remind us of Brock. It's like, okay, so you changed it from Brock doing it to Roman doing it, but but they started going down that path with Ronda Rousey, and then they got rid of that real fast. So it was kind of surprising to me but I like Rhea with the title though.
I think she's the best that they've had so far. Mostly because I think what work she's been doing with Judgment Day and everything, her story for her having the belt and all that shit just works with her. Like that they weren't getting with
you guys heard on the Backlash podcast what we thought about that. Well, we'll talk about Night of Champions in the next one. But
what else do you have to say? Before we finish, I was gonna shift back to Roman. I didn't like him that he had the title at all. And that he turned a heel because I liked him so much. Like I have a short.
Well, yeah, you were a fan of his when he was not a heel.
I was a giant fan when he wasn't a heel, but then he became a heel. Then I hated him because it's stupid.
But the funny thing is, that's what you're supposed to do, though. Yeah. You're not supposed to like him as a heel, and you're supposed to like him as a face. Yeah,
but it's the complete opposite with Roman. They hated him when they were a face. Like everybody hated him when he won the 2015 Royal Rumble. Remember that?
Oh, I know. Like, boo! Oh, I know. That's what I said. Me and Josh both talk about it.
Even with the walk, it was like they were still booing. Even the walk.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That Roman. It's funny because we wanted him to turn heel a long time ago. I don't think he needs to be a title holder to be a heel, though. Like, he doesn't have to have the title. there's certain guys that don't have to have it to flip back and forth, and I think he's one of them. But for some reason, he's Vince's baby. Well, there's certain Seth guys Rollins that Vince likes, and that's who gets the title all the time. It's like the girls that Vince likes. You know who he must love Charlotte.
Yeah, he must love Charlotte.
Because of Ric Flair.
Much love Bianca Belair.
It's because he probably liked Ric Flair.
But it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know. But anyhow, it's. I think we've talked about WrestleMania Night 2 enough, though. We're almost hitting an hour on talking about this pay-per-view. Or premium live events. I didn't think we would talk this long about it.
Well, it's because there's so many things to be angry about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's easy to end up talking about everything else, too. So, I mean, like, that's the main thing. So sometimes you think that they're going to be like 30 minutes, and then we go off on tangents and talk about whatever. But I mean,
but the next one we'll be talking about for Wrestling with the Willies will be Night of Champions, which I actually totally forgot about. That we didn't do it. For some reason, I was thinking we talked about that one already.
Because that was the Saudi one where we usually
and
don't
then
do
we'll
the Saudi
have
ones,
AEW. Like. It's Forbidden Door, and then.
Well, we got Double or Nothing and Forbidden Door.
Yeah, we've got two AEW podcasts, and then we've got Night of Champions and Money in the Bank that'll be coming out.
Basically, the next one that I even have a chance to be on is SummerSlam, and I'm probably going to watch that so that I'm on the podcast. So next time I'm on the podcast, it's probably going to be SummerSlam.
Okay, so for all of you guys listening, if you enjoy Liam talking on these podcasts, then you'll want to wait for SummerSlam. Because he won't be on the other ones. But obviously, if you enjoy Jeremy and Josh talking, like the ones that actually listen to the podcast, I hope we get more listeners. It'd be awesome if we start getting a ton. But
well, I mean,
everybody
that
is,
everybody that anyway. I found out that there was somebody that actually is like a friend of somebody that I know, like of her kid, like actually listens to this to the show.
That's good to hear. I mean, again, that's the only problem with.
She was like, "Yeah, she listens to us over there." I was like, "I don't know if that's safe for kids to get up here and be talking." But I mean, for whatever reason, however anybody ends up liking.
Well, we probably need to start doing videos that go along with these, but I got to figure out what we're doing.
Yeah, that's the next thing. I need to start affording stuff where a better,
even highlight reels or something of the actual events. Thing. Like highlights or something. But
oh yeah.
But anyhow, like I said, the next one that'll be coming out will be Night of Champions, and then after that, was it Double or Nothing that was first? It was Double or Nothing, right? Yeah. So
it's Double or Nothing. Then it's and then it might as well be
Forbidden Door.
I think it was Forbidden Door first.
Yeah. So expect those within the next.
But I thought Money in the Bank was in April.
No, Money in the Bank just happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, Money in the Bank was just this past week.
Yeah, WrestleMania was in April.
We were just
we're way behind, but we're getting there. We'll get them done, and people will be able to hear our opinions on these pay-per-view.
Where it's mostly me just shitting.
Yeah,
on
pretty
Roman
much
Reigns
for all the WWE ones, but we'll see.
Months.
But for all of us at the Heart of Geek, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll let Josh finish it out. I don't want to do it because this is technically his.
Well, I mean, you already started it, so you might as well.
Can I finish it?
I know, I'm usually the host, but yeah. But what's it called? Check out our webpage and all that shit. We're starting to do reviews and all that. Not really starting to do reviews, but there's a few reviews that I need to finish up too. Hopefully, I'll do that in the next.
Check out our music reviews, our video game reviews, obviously our YouTube videos. You can check out our YouTube channel, and then our streams are also out there too. We stream we try to every Friday. Sometimes we skip a week here and there, depends upon schedules.
And watch our newest stream, Exo Primal. I'm on that one.
Yeah. Well, we just streamed Exo Primal.
Well, barely, but still.
Yeah, we just did Exo Primal on Twitch last night, and then we'll be doing AEW Fight Forever, hopefully. I think, next week.
As long as it works. So, the first week we tried to do it, we had network issues.
Oh yeah, we try to like fuck.
Yeah. So, but for all of us at the Heart of Geek, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Wrestling with the Willies, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.